When it comes to competitive team-based games, they usually have different roles for players to choose from. These roles usually work well together and have their own job to help fulfill the team's goal of winning a game. In MOBAs, this usually includes roles like tanks, carries, and even supports that all have a job to fill, and you're usually going to have a hard time in a game if your team is missing one. But in almost all of these games, there are usually characters that start to blur the lines between the roles, and these hybrid characters can usually fit into more than one of these roles. In Valorant, we have agents like Viper, who's a controller but also has the capability to lock down a site as well as a Sentinel. We have Skye, who's an initiator but thanks to her flashes is able to make space similar to a duelist. And there's also Yoru, who's a duelist but is also an agent that shouldn't be played at all. And with the newest agent release, we now have Valorant's next hybrid agent. This is Chamber in a nutshell. Chamber is Valorant's newest Sentinel, if you can even call him that. He has a kit that really resembles that of a duelist, with his ability to make plays and take first contact in an engagement. He also lacks real utility in his kit since two of his abilities are not really abilities at all, and are instead just weapons. It's a nice change up and really breaks the standard formula for what abilities in Valorant can actually be. The downside is that because two of Chamber's abilities are just weapons, if you don't have good mechanics when it comes to your aim, you'll have a hard time on this agent. Since if you're not legally skilled like me, you effectively only have two abilities to play with. But if you do have the aim to back it up, Chamber can be a very powerful agent that's really hard to deal with. And Chamber is also French. Just thought I'd mention it here. Chamber's signature ability is Rendezvous, bind it to E by default, and he gets it for free every round, and it has a cooldown of 20 seconds. This ability can be recalled, and it can also be destroyed and has a total of 80 HP. This is Chamber's teleport ability. Chamber places down two anchors and is able to teleport between them. Before Chamber came out, I was actually really worried when I heard about this ability, since the last teleport ability we got with Yoru was underwhelming to say the least, especially since he had to place down two anchors beforehand. But luckily for Sentinel mains everywhere, Riot actually forgot to balance Chamber's ability. Even though he's a Sentinel, the cast time of his teleport is faster than Yoru's. Much faster actually. It's actually more comparable to like a jet dash. This ability is insane because not only can you teleport instantly, but the range of the teleport is actually really large at about the same range as the hearing distance, or 40 meters. This ability allows Chamber to play like a duelist because it's effectively a get out of jail free card. If you set up the anchors properly, you can use them to try to get a kill and then teleport out before an enemy has a chance to react. You'll be defaulting around, and just like Thanos himself, this guy snaps his fingers and suddenly half your team died on B with no trade to speak of. Which is nothing new, but at least this time the agent just came out, so at least I have something to blame it on. Chamber's next ability is Headhunter, bind it to Q by default, and is Chamber's Sheriff. It costs 100 credits per bullet and can hold up to 8 bullets. Just like the regular Sheriff, it deals enough damage to one-shot an enemy with full shields if you hit a headshot, but unlike the Sheriff, it has no damage drop-off. You can also scope in with it, which I personally haven't used, but I'm sure some people out there have at some point. I know that you may be wondering, why on earth would you spend 800 credits for an 8-bullet Sheriff when you can just spend 800 credits for a 30-bullet Sheriff? Well, this ability gives Chamber the option to almost half buy a Sheriff, since he can spend credits in 100 credit increments instead of going all in on the full weapon. So for example, on pistol round, he's able to buy half shields and 4 Sheriff bullets. That way you can miss 4 shots and then switch to your classic and still have the durability that the half shield provides on pistol rounds. Plus, if you have good enough aim, you can switch between a weapon and your Sheriff, and your first shot will actually be 100% accurate. Which is really nice if you're good enough to take advantage of this tech, but maybe stop showing off because some of us don't appreciate it. Chamber's last ability is his trademark. I mean, it's not his trademark, but like the name of the ability is trademark, if that makes sense. Anyways, this ability costs 150 credits per charge, and he can carry up to 2 per round. This is what I would consider to be his only real Sentinel ability. Chamber can place down a trap that acts kind of like a security camera, and if an enemy gets into line of sight of it while they're too close, it'll go off and destabilize the terrain around them. This causes a slow effect around the player, affecting everyone in the area. This ability kind of power creeps the other Sentinel abilities in the game. Its effect is arguably stronger than that of Killjoy's alarm bot, and can affect an entire team on entry as opposed to making a single enemy vulnerable. And it also doesn't have a range limit similar to Cypher Trips, allowing him to rotate and still effectively hold his sight down. This ability is not invisible, however, and only has 1 HP, so it's actually really easy to destroy, and I've personally never had a problem with it. Unfortunately though, in solo queue, pushing with your team becomes almost impossible, because for some reason, players at entry have this weird idea in their head that shooting any enemy util is a sin, and they absolutely can't do it. And with most util that's in the game, that isn't really a big deal because something like a trip or Killjoy's bot only really affects the person that triggers it. But with Chamber's trap, the person in front of you will set it off, not shoot it, and now your entire team is slowed with no counterplay. So if you didn't have enough reasons to flame the duelist on your team, here's another one. Chamber's ultimate is Tour de Force. This ultimate is an op. That's pretty much it. Thanks for coming to the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. No, but seriously, yes, Chamber's ult is an op, it costs 7 ultimate points to use, and has a total of 5 bullets in the weapon. And unlike an op, it's a one-shot kill to enemies with full shields anywhere on the body. And yes, that includes the legs for my fellow toe ticklers out there. It also creates a lingering field that slows players that try to move through it. Normally having an op is not always a good thing because it depends on how good the agent is with the weapon. But lucky for Chamber, he's actually an amazing opper. Possibly the new best in the game, or second to Jett at the very least. This ultimate also doesn't have the same cockback time as the actual op, and is actually closer to a Marshall in terms of shooting speed. So you can quickly miss all your op shots faster than ever before, and then go back to using the other op you bought that round. Chamber is a very powerful agent. He's only been out for a couple of weeks, and he already seems to have become a fan favorite. He's a Sentinel that feels very similar to a duelist in terms of his playstyle, and has a kit that isn't really that easy to use if you don't have the aim to justify it. I personally think he's gonna find a spot in the meta somewhere, but we'll have to wait and see where he ends up. His kit is great for helping a team's economy because of how cheap his sheriff can be for save rounds, and his ult gives him a free weapon. But you need to take your shots carefully because you only get a few bullets in the chamber. Hey everyone, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd really appreciate if you left a like. Also, if you have any suggestions for agents you want to see me talk about in this series, please leave a comment letting me know. If you're interested, consider checking me out on stream at twitch.tv/JitterzVal. I stream every Saturday from 2 to 6 p.m. EST. Also, follow me on Twitter if you'd like. I post updates on there pretty often. And if you want to join my Discord community, there will also be a link in the description for that as well. And finally, don't forget to subscribe for more Valorant related content.